All right. Take 4. All right. Um, Not terribly good at and well practiced at this yet. The Hillary Clinton speech was just super boss. That part where the alt-right Pepe, that was glorious. I mean, that alone. That's going to be its own meme. I'm betting already that like Walt Bismarck has done something with this. Like I just can't even imagine. Mr. Medicare is probably just yeah, he's probably sleeping off the drinks now. I mean, like all these guys must have just been having the time of their lives. And I really want to salute you guys. You worked really hard, and I really mean that. It's not like Forney, some dude who I'd be like, "Whoa, are you Matt Forney? I'm gonna get up in your grill and be a chump, huh? And hey, what's up? I fucking love your fucking show. No. He's made it obvious he's really not that kind of guy, and he's not that kind of celebrity. But I want to give him his propers. Arini, got to give him his propers. The right stuff, and fucking millennial woes, even overseas. All these people really did a lot, and oh my god, like Red Ice Radio and all the people who appeared on that. All these people have, and then of course the man with the man with the hair, Richard B. Spencer. What's up with that hair, dude? Your hair is amazing all the time. Like, and I mean, really, where you're like, this guy is so well put together. It must trigger the shit out of chunky blue haired women. I mean, really, it just must make their thigh tattoos quiver when they see you. Anyway, if only the alternative right were like a national socialist movement, it would be kind of an easy thing to just box them in. But really, what it is that the alternative right is this widely disparate network of ideologies that are really more libertarian at their pith, and then nationalist as it's adapted to circumstances. The no Basically liberals, the true liberal, the classical liberal, the sort of conservative, the pleated chinos conservative, pleated chinos conservative, uh, with the flight deck, all that kind of stuff. That whole culture. They're not built to understand the alternative right. They're built to fear it. Those are reactionaries. You know, they yeah, those reactionaries. I remember my father always was very cautionary about that reactionary thinking, because nothing liberals fear nothing more than reactionaries, because we must have progress, such as you know the 1930s in Germany, which the progressives were all about. Hence why then you get all these people funding the Third Reich who were Americans, and that once the Third Reich fell apart, all the people who were the money people, fundamentally kind of almost like the network, like the Clinton Foundation kind of network, those type of people at that era of time came over here, and many of them ended up in the State Department, FBI, Naturalization Services, actually INS, because they had to get in some of their Nazi friends. You had to have just enough people in enough places. So all this stuff that you kind of get this idea from X-Files, that the idea is that there is a secret Nazi, I'm smoking cigarettes. Well, there's a guy that's based on a real guy, Reinhard Gehlen. Reinhard Gehlen ended up training the secret services of Egypt. He trained the Secret Service of Morocco, Secret Service of Libya, heavily involved in various parts of the Middle East after the war. I mean, this is after the war. after he had already been a part of the pan-Arab fascism that made up the Muslim Brotherhood. Um, yeah, that's what fascism is in the Middle East. It's the Muslim Brotherhood. The funders are mainly Saudi Arabia, and this is absolutely so. Everybody knows it. It does not take that much research to find real documentation on this stuff that Muslims have been, who they try to tell us, but who builds all the mosques? Do you think these people really put together money? No. These mosques are fantastic because they're built by the Saudis, by the Bahrainis. They're built by Wahhabists and Salafists, who are basically just a bunch of rich bastards in the Middle East. Um, Many of those economies basically run on slave labor at some stage. I mean, Bahrain right now is in flames and in street battles all the time. You could look up Bahrain riots, and there's a channel that daily has riots in Bahrain. Bahrain is crazy. That's where Iran and Saudi Arabia are going at it in the streets, is in Bahrain. It's the low level skirmish fighting that's happening there. So it's one group of sort of kind of national socialists, Iran, the land of the Aryans, and Saudi Arabia, sort of more international and pan-Arab fascists. And it's very fascinating. It's very, very fascinating to see this play out and to see who's doing what. Russia appears to not have a problem with a Turkic, Parsi, um, sort of caliphate form. Alexander Dugin has said as much. Valdai 2014 conference, the speech that Vladimir Putin made, the publicity shots, the shots of the crowd, the Chechens or the Georgians, they were all in traditional garb. And that's, I mean, everybody else is in suits. They're in traditional garb. And the whole idea was to present the idea of that we are perfectly okay with this. This is not weird in Russia because Russia is a modern state. Putin's got his own thing going on. He's got his own political interests going. And so Hillary Clinton, the Democratic Party, they want to secure certain energy resources. Germany is a part of this as well. How France exactly fits into this, I've not quite figured out. But there's I have not quite figured out France. Something's weird with France, and yeah, I need help with France, understanding what's going on with them. But the movement in Ukraine that took over, while during the Maidan, Russia Today showed these people were holding pictures of Stepan Bandera, all the guys in red and black with all the strange symbols. They and the masks, especially if they had masks, when they would march and they would have torches and they would have these pictures of Stepan Bandera, who was the basically Nazi president of Ukraine. And Holodomor aside, this is what this was, is that fundamentally the United States had taken in a bunch of Nazis and they were finally giving them their chance. You know, Cyprus fell apart. That was going to be one of the oil and energy ports. Like the money that was in Cyprus, all that Russian money was going to help build a giant energy infrastructure that would go from Cyprus onto the mainland, and it was going to be huge. It was going to be its part. I forget. I don't think it was North or South Stream. I think it was another option, but I forget which. But that might have been the North Stream. But or was one of the options for the Nord Stream. When Ukraine fell apart, that buckled a specific link in that. When Cyprus fell apart, it was like, well, no, now we don't even have a place for this to be offloaded. Then Syria happened, and that was it. Syria has always been where a pipeline. One of them, the plan was from Iraq. That goes back to the 1920s or 30s. Pipeline that would go from Iraq all the way out to the Syrian ports, or to the port at Haifa, or go through Haifa and then out to some port. That you could find online. You could find pictures of that. You could find that pipeline, and it says it was never built. That's, I think, a big part of why Saddam Hussein was there, but the Russians outflanked us, and they outflanked us with Syria and Hamas and Hezbollah, and Israel had its own political interests going on, and so there was only so much it could pull off, as far as allowing a pipeline to go all the way out to the sea from Iraq. Hillary Clinton knew these were Nazis. If I could spot this, and I'm this American who's barely done any research on the history of Ukraine, and I know, like, wait, that's a picture of Stepan Bandera. And then since then, you could watch, you put Torchlight March in Kiev, and there's regularly these torchlight marches with all these people in traditional Ukrainian clothes and lots of symbols that are from their nationalist movement that was associated with the Nazi party back in the 40s, 30s and 40s. And that's it. There's not another story. The close ties, I mean, like actual people who are members of the Muslim Brotherhood. Huma's the family is connected to the Muslim Brotherhood by only like 2 degrees. There's all these Muslim brothers in the fucking like White House. This is this is some weird shit. And this claim that there's like these Nazis in the suburbs, that the war horses are being bred, they're going to come out of the sea foam with like whips and chains for all the blacks, and they're gonna lash the Mexicans across the border. I mean, just all this crap, just this silliness, and it's just, it really is. You have to sort of hate white American males. You have to hate Christianity. You actually have to hate Western civilization through not understanding it, through actually being ignorant of it, because you can't hate things you know about. You can't, it's just, you can't do it. Snake handlers don't fear and hate vipers. They understand what vipers can do, and that's just how that is. That's why the right can handle the left, and we can meme you so that you're all triggered and shit, because you don't understand the right. That's why this alt-right Pepe exists, because and Hillary Clinton grandma had to tell you about it. Your sick grandmother had to tell you about that shit. So this is a humongous win for the alternative right. Is a humongous win really for the Republic, because what really the alternative right truly is it's a movement of unapologetically American white Western people, white and Western people. Actually, let me put it that way, because there's many people like me that we're a wild mix of what lives out here in the Western world, and I like a good kenning. I think the York Rite is a fascinating history of American lore, legend, and religion. Um, Father Callistos Ware makes for a great read, as well as R.E.A. Kaplan. What kind of Westerner hasn't had to look into Yeats or Maimonides? Pythagoras will always remain Pythagoras. Liberals don't know shit about any of this. They never will know shit about any of this, because they're not well read. They read garbage. They read things that should be written on White Cloud and on the inside of Pampers most of the time, like Naomi Klein. Laurie, Laurie Penny, Maddie Iglesias, stuff like that. And we're going to win because we know what's happening in the real world and these people don't. And the real world is talking to the alternative right. They're not talking to anybody else. When Russia puts out propaganda, they put it out on networks that only people who are in the alternative right or former military veterans would know what they're seeing. Zero Hedge is exemplary of this, of a very specific set of information for a very specific part of the society that knows what's going on, and that's all that matters. I've started to realize this. A lot of the liberals are just cattle. It's sad. It's very sad to say that. It's sad to understand that. But it's like Lao Tzu said, the people who mastered the way baffled the people with it. And that's what's up, gentlemen. In the red pill world, you alt-righters, we have to baffle them. Those of you who like language, I think we'll have to baffle them and goad them. And that's what you do so well. Aurenheimer, you scary bastard. You and Sektor and all those guys. God dang. Milwaukee Loot Crew is out.